Welcome back to another Hockey Nation show with hockey coach, Coach Frenchy, directly from the beautiful country of the Thailand. And we have a co-host tonight for the special edition. And we have Mr. Marco Rabi, directly from Hawkesbury. Now, welcome back, Marco, again in the house tonight.
Happy Monday, Coach. You sound very well rested, very energized, ready to talk some hockey. Very exciting.
Yeah. I don't know if you're Monday, me, I'm Tuesday night, but it's okay.
We're just rocking Monday here. We're going to finish Monday in style. Monday in August, still lots of good weather, but missing that hockey, Coach. The Hlinka tournament just gives you a little bit of taste, of some hockey.
You're absolutely right. One is the first day of August. It's a smell of the beginning of the new season and the hockey. So, the school's starting to be very soon. The football college coming back. Then the NFL very soon. And then the hockey starting. And it start with, of course, the Hlinka Gretzky tournament is going to be live right now. It's around. And then if you follow a bit more, the showcase in Michigan between three countries, Sweden and the USA and Finland at the Showcase World Junior Championship 2024. We're going to talk about this a bit later, what's happening over there. So we have a lot of still, this is the beginning. It's just getting a little bit excited now. People will be back. The weather will be a little bit more difficult as some area in North America. But the good news is we are ready to rock and roll the season of the hockey 2023-2024. And here for the Hockey Nation, we are going to be back next week, guys. Normal schedule. So we are back many times on the week. So stay tuned. No vacation anymore for Coach Frenchy until next season. So we'll be interested in what's happening around the league for the upcoming season. But first of all, we want to welcome a couple of people. Mr. Marco, if you don't mind, we're going to welcome a few people knock the door. Let's start with very quickly. Luciano Graziano, moderator of the Hockey Nation show, is in the house tonight. Following by her friend, the road runner, Gary Cournoyer, is in the house tonight. I don't know why. Every time I start this, they put this there. Anyhow, I fix it. Our friend Randy Walkman is in the house.
Hey, Randy.
Mr. Writer of the Calgary Flame and a big fan of the Toronto Maple Leaf. Welcome back, Mr. Randy. Hopefully you're doing well. Our co-host of the Abs Barbecue shows on the summer, Mr. Nhl Updates, is in the house tonight from Toronto. Welcome back, Mr. Nhl Updates. And from Manitoba, Winnipeg, a big fan of Montreal Canadian, Dan and Colette Asham are in the house tonight. Hopefully doing well. Dan, we have an amazing, great summer. Don't know what the weather in Winnipeg. How you think about Winnipeg weather?
All I know about Winnipeg is the mosquitoes are this big.
Really?
Very big. Yeah, they'll take a bite out of you. They're very aggressive.
I've been there 4 years straight. I was doing hockey camp with DANY, with Briere, and I was doing a tour. It's called Brandon, Winnipeg, and before we go to Thunder Bay and finishing in Toronto. And yeah, it was 18 cities in 7 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thunder
was
Bay.
A good time. Yeah, was a good time about that for sure. And we have Mr. Joseph Laham. Joseph Laham is in the house tonight, directly from Houston, Texas. I'm sure this is not the month to be in Houston, Texas, in August. It's getting steamy over there for sure. And but him is ready to see the New Jersey Devils for the upcoming season. He cannot be more excited about the Devils with the add of Tyler Toffoli, and now we expect Luke Hughes to become a new comer of the regular hockey player for the New Jersey Devils for the upcoming season. So a lot of great things about the Devils. Going to talk about them a bit later in the show. We have Claude Richard. He was your neighbor, but now you move out. But he's still in Ottawa. Mr. Claude Richard is in the house tonight. Welcome back, Claude. And then what we got? Do we got other people? Look like they have conversation between our friend RJ Calavo is in the house, Mr. Nhl Updates, Mr. Marco for another night RJ bring all the update and news. It's start already now. We're going to talk about the news and NHL in the next couple of minutes. Thanks so much, RJ, to contribute. Snowmobile man ready to starting is mobile. Maybe I don't know yet, but he's still looking for the snow. We're talking about William McClary from Ontario is in the house with great question and great support of the Hockey Nation Live show. And then here we go. Why not to give you first of all, you want some question tonight. So if you have any question you want to add to Marco is free. He gave us his time to be with us, so we really appreciate. Very grateful, Marco. You gave us for a beautiful, great Tuesday night here from Thailand. And we have Gary said to you, Mr. Nata, what do you think of the hire of the Boucher with the league will shouldn't keep on the short leash next season? Don't forget Boucher was finished. One backup was hired by the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, listen, anybody who's watched Guy Boucher as an analyst on RDS probably isn't surprised. If you watched On Jazz, which is a show that he was a regular contributor on, I know, Coach, you watched it just as much as I did. And whenever they would cover the Leafs, you could see that, we all know that he was a finalist for that job when with Babcock, like he was just mentioning. But you can see, like, he for the last couple of years, he was pretty excited about the Leafs and always felt that they were about to turn the corner. Like, he was quick to point out, that all the kind of progress that he was seeing in the team. And so you can kind of see that he had a lot of respect for that team. So it makes a lot of sense, from his perspective. Like, he was just waiting for the right opportunity. He was pretty vocal on the show pretty often, saying that he turned down a lot of other kind of opportunities that were there for him. There's no question Guy Boucher is it can be a very impactful resource in a hockey team. The knock on Guy Boucher is that, in the first year, he resonates really, really effectively with the players in the first year. But then quickly things can kind of de-escalate from there, and the players start to kind of tune him out, which is surprising, right? Because, Coach, similar to you, he is all about leadership skills, and he understands psychology really well. So I don't know, I think interesting role for him and his assistant coach, really just being able to support. It's clear the Leaf fan base was not super excited about this hire, but I don't think you can ask better in terms of a technical technician kind of coach. Everybody kind of always thinks of him as the guy who does the 1-3-1, right? But he's very adaptive, it's not the only strategy that he knows. That's all he does is think about hockey strategy, this guy. So I'm sure he's learned a lot of other things since he worked in Tampa. And to answer the last part of his question real quick is, yeah, Sheldon Leaf is absolutely on a short leash, for sure. So it's a smart hire if they need to do something midseason. It's make or break this season for the Leafs guys. They have to do something. So if they feel like they need to move on from Sheldon Keefe, then I know that you have Guy Boucher right there as well.
Yep, sorry about that. You nailed it about everything about Guy Boucher. If you follow him for many years, like I did too, with RDS, he was always bring something nobody talk about, another pair of the eyes from head coach, right? And he was always bringing a lot of great contents for the RDS. But he's still always been involved with hockey from outside. When I'm talking about, he grow his kid. Been involved with hockey, but he continues to learning everything like that. The background of Guy Boucher, it become a little bit. Every time you get fired or you any time in life, by the way, something happening to you, you still try to learn for your mistake, and then you try to get to become better if you have another opportunity in front of you. And I think for me, Guy Boucher, he learned a lot of what he need to become a better hockey coach, and I think that's for me. The fact both of them, I know Sheldon Keefe did it, and Guy Boucher did the way he talked. They are really learning about the mindset of the game, how you're going to treat your player, how you feel those kind of connection with with your players to get the best of them, how you can motivate them, how you can get become the best potential to become a better hockey player. And I think Guy Boucher will bring some kind of the thing and elevate a little bit more the Toronto Maple Leafs. They lost, honestly, Toronto Maple Leafs, a great coach, assistant coach, become the head coach for the Washington Capitals. Is it Carberry? I think it's Carberry's last name. and
Yeah.
it was running the power play for the last 2 seasons over there. So they was looking targeting other coach to help Sheldon Cave. You're absolutely right when you said you know that's not said they go to fire Cave, but it's something I don't know after the what's said like after 20 game and it's not looking good over there. But they have a possibility now to make a transition coach with Guy Boucher, and then after that you're going to see what it could happen there. So you're absolutely right. You nailed it about the situation in Toronto Maple Leaf. But at the end of the day, they still try to figure out the salary cap over there. That's the biggest question about the salary cap over it. Plus, I know they put Matt Murray on the long term injury reserve, but still, kind of conversation about William Nylander contract is him and Matthews are on the final year contract for upcoming season, and look like Matthews will be in agreement with them. But what happened with William Nylander? He requested $10 million, and
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
talk about
I'll say
him.
this, coach. I'll say this, coach. Like the last member of the Leafs organization that tried to play chicken, which was Dubas, Kyle Dubas, tried to play chicken a little bit, saying, "Oh, like not 100% sure. I want to be GM or whatever," and then boom. So I think William Nylander, he has to really make a decision. Does he want to be a Toronto Maple Leaf or does he not want to be a Toronto Maple Leaf? There's no question he can go out and get more money on the open market. He could. It's hard to argue that he's not a $9 million, $9.5 million player based on specifically on the statistics and what he does. But again, like it seems like nobody on the Leafs roster is willing to take a contract. Like, look at what's happening with Montreal, coach. We talked about this when Caulfield signed his deal. It's music to our ears, right? Like everybody kind of doing that Boston Bruins kind of model. You're fitting into the structure that management is doing so that you give your team a chance to win. It doesn't seem like anybody in Toronto is willing to do that. Matthews doesn't sound like he's going to do that. Certainly Marner and Tavares didn't do that. It doesn't sound Nylander's like you can almost understand Nylander in a sense because he was the one that took the haircut last time, right? Like all the other guys got all their money and he took the haircut. So in a way, I just don't understand, coach. Like, let's say there was a salary cap for the Hockey Nation live show, okay? And there was only a certain amount of money to go between me and Randy and whoever else comes on the show. Well, if there's only a certain amount of money, you'd imagine that all four of us would sit down and say, you know what, guys, like if we really want to do this show, let's figure out a way to make all of the salaries kind of equal. It's clear coach is the best player on the team, so of course he's going to get paid more. But it just seems weird to me that players don't have a conversation. I know it's a business, and you have your own family and your agents and everything else, but just seems to me like Matthews, Nylander, Marner, like why wouldn't they just have a conversation? Like, guys, do we want to win a Stanley Cup in Toronto? Is that what we really want to do? Then, if that's the case, then we need to kind of fall into a structure here to allow the general manager to really build a team around us. I know it's unrealistic. That's not how it works, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Like logically, that's if I really wanted to win, I would figure out a way to make that happen. So I
So
don't
I'm
know.
looking
See
about
what
the
happens.
contract at $10 million right now. You have Huberdeau, Kopitar, Jack Eichel, Barkov.
Yeah,
So
I said 9 million for Nylander. 9 million.
yeah, so if you go about $9 million after that, I have Ken McCarr, Jeff Skinner, that's a big friend like that. Roman Ozy, Timo Meyer is at 8.8. Um, that's the kind of language you can talk about. Dylan Larkin at 8.7. Honestly, I feel like Nylander, I don't think so. He reached over 40 goals in NHL. I could be wrong here, but this is the max the goal he did in NHL and so far in his career. He's 27 years old, Nylander. He did last year 87 points. It was his best season in NHL last year at 26 years old, going to turn 27. Of course, he's going to get his prim about that. But for me, this is the max I will reach is $9 million. That fact, it was on my video yesterday about talking about William Nylander. We're going to talk about a little bit later about the case, about the Montreal Canadiens. A lot of people in the chat, but thank you so much to join us. If we don't mention your name, please, we welcome you. And if you are not, click on the like there. That would be great if you can help us. Not many likes so far, so will be interesting. Great question, Gary Cournoyer, by the way, for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And after, we'd like to hear a little bit more about your Ottawa pickup, Vladimir Tarasenko. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this on one of the maybe the last show, but I don't love this move for Ottawa. I just don't see it's what they needed. Like similar to Montreal. Like they I would have preferred that he that Dorion left a spot for one of those young players to take one of those top six roles. Like I'm just not a huge Tarasenko fan, to be honest. Maybe I'm biased, but I just find he's kind of one dimensional. He when he's hot, he can score goals, but I don't find he really contributes much to the game other than scoring goals. He's not really a strong two-way player. He's not physical. He's really, in my view, pretty one-dimensional, especially at this stage in his career. So listen, like I guess I understand the logic behind it. Like they feel like they needed to add another top six piece with DeBrincat leaving the lineup. I just don't see it. I don't think scoring goals is really the issue with Ottawa. Um, so I don't know. I don't love it. It's a 1 year deal, right? It's a 1 year deal or a 2 year deal.
1 year.
1 year. So listen, it's not going to sink the franchise or anything. It's not going to be, and the number is reasonable. I just I don't love Pierre Dorion's free agent work, especially when it comes to goaltending over the last couple of years. Like it's pretty well documented that he hasn't really landed very well on goaltending free agents. But it's kind of hit and miss, right? Like I think Claude Giroux was a great signing. Ottawa fans are not super happy with the asset management perspective with DeBrincat. Like did you make the most with that asset in the end? Like I'm not sure you did, but it is what it is. Like I'm not a huge Tarasenko fan, but what do you think, Coach? Like, do you think that's kind of what they needed on that roster to really make a push this year?
Oh yeah. I know I'm always again. I'm always like opposite most of the time. But I look about his stat about Tarasenko, and you can see 18 goal last season. Yes, it is with two team. I like the fact like he still contribute 50 point in 69 game last season. But prior to that, he had 34 goal. Unfortunately, 2 years with some kind of injury with the shoulder. Prior to that, 33, 33, 39, 40, 37. So he can score goal there. The fact they lost the Brincat, but they have a big, huge hole on the top six for the upcoming season. They patch up with Tarasenko. He will score about 25 goal minimum for me, in my opinion, with the Ottawa Senator. That'll make Ottawa Senator don't drop too much, and they give them an extra, 3 point something $1 million more on the salary cap, only $5 million. I think it's a great deal for the Ottawa Senator to get a Tarasenko. Now, Ottawa Senator is going to be very interesting with the new signature Corpusalo as a goaltender. Second year of Jake Sanderson, guys, and now you have Chick Run at the beginning of the season. I think we focus more on the Buffalo Sabres and the Detroit Red Wings and make a lot of splash during the last 2 seasons compared to Ottawa. We know they got Giro. I think the chemistry was not there last season, but the fact now they have a full recovery of the Pinto and Josh Norris. And for me, the key for them is really Tim Souza. He become one of the best hockey players in NHL last season. Without all the problems they got around this, he's still performing. And I think he's going to get better and better and better. So I think we underrated the team Ottawa. I'm not saying he's going to make the playoff right away. We have to wait a couple of more weeks. But and so back to that question, I think Tarasenko just patch up the old what they don't have right now. They will have to have a better year for the bottom six. And I'm talking about Matthew Joseph example. That's the one player I'm looking for. Hopefully, he will have a better year next season because they need some depth inside of this team. if Korpisalo can become a solid goaltender like he proved last year, I think Ottawa are going to surprise better more people what we expect because it was reflect of what happening last season. But it was the team was really it's the team Marco you follow them. They never start the season in October. They
Yeah,
forget December. So I don't know what's going on the first 20 game, but it's something they need to be sure it change this year. I think that team could become better. They always have a second half of the season really good for the last under DJ Smith. But again, talk about the
yeah,
coach earlier with Keith. How long are you going to keep DJ Smith
yeah,
if they don't start very well at the beginning of the season? Is it another one can be fired?
yeah. I think there's no question. If you ask me who is on the shortest leash to start the season, number one on my list is DJ Smith. In like, I think you nailed it with Corpusalo, coach. Even though we disagree on Tarasenko, to me, that's the biggest game changer there, right? Because in my opinion, watching a lot of Sens games, if they get any caliber of goaltending last year, they're close to being a playoff team, in my opinion. They're right there. Maybe Montreal ends up getting that 18th overall pick instead or 15th overall pick instead of 31, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, because honestly, the goaltending last year, was just horrific. Like Forsberg, who had a really good season before that, got that extension. I know he had the knee injury, double knee injury at the end of the year, but even before that, he just didn't have a great season. So listen, like if Corpusalo, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I think the threshold for NHL goaltending is dropping because the offense is going up, right? So if they can get a 905 team average goaltending save percentage, then I think they're close to being a playoff team. To be honest, like their defense has gotten a lot deep. You're right, like Sanderson 1 year older. Hopefully Shabbat doesn't have to play as many minutes. That's what I mean. Like I guess
think
with
run.
Tarasenko, yeah, and Chikrin, of course, yeah, that's the biggest. Hopefully, he can stay healthy. He's got some problems staying healthy over the last couple of years.
Yeah,
But for me, Tarasenko would make more sense as a trade deadline pickup, right? Because similar to like Montreal, you want to give some of those younger players that are coming up a little bit of a chance to at least crack your top six. Like again, like yeah, you're adding Norris and Pinto. Like those are two of your top three centers that you didn't have last year, right? So that's going to create some movement in that top nine. So
absolutely right
again,
about that. Absolutely
yeah.
right.
So I don't know, just a little too early for me. That's kind of I get there's a lot on the line for Dorian to make sure that this team. So I can understand why he would add Tarasenko. I just think it's a bit too early. I would want to see how those young kids kind of work into that role. So that's it's debatable.
Awesome. We want to welcome Jose Duarte, another moderator for the Dual Jose, and glad to have you aboard. Our friend Roger Delaney. Knock the door, Roger Delaney. And he talked about fun things in the chat, Roger, but he said something we did not talk about this. I don't think so. We really got and what you feel about. We just talk about Guy Boucher. Got a new job. But what about Dominic Charm for the Montreal Canadiens, ex head coach? Got a new assistant coach with the Vegas Golden Knight for upcoming season. Look, um, I never like someone get fired as a coach, right? We want the best always for them, and we hope they always have another opportunity to come back at some point. And he pick up, of course, his salary at home. You can complain, you can do a lot of things, but before the end of this, association with the Montreal Canadiens, Duchamp always been a really good, solid coach in hockey. If you follow him in the QM, if you follow him with Team Canada, and he's been a great assistant coach many years with the Montreal Canadiens before he became the head coach. And sometimes it's not for everybody. I don't say he's not going to be another time a head coach, but sometimes play a role as assistant coach more in Montreal. It's not for everybody with kind of personality you have can deal with the pressure in Montreal. Now he's back now in the NHL. For me, there's a great news for him, and I wish the best for him. And to be around the team like Vegas Golden Knight, I think it's great. I think Bruce Cassidy always showed the last 20 years coaching around the NHL with Boston and now with Vegas. He's a great guy, human being, and to give that kind of person like Jim Montgomery got last season with the Boston Bruins, I just feel this is a great news. First for Dominic Trump, but of course for hockey, we want to have the best of the best, and that's one of them. I believe Dominic Trump is has a knowledge about as a head coach or coach in NHL. So I don't know what you think about that hire from the Vegas Golden Knight, Dominic Trump.
Listen, I here are my thoughts on Dominic Ducharme. You know, like I feel it was never it was never going to be easy for someone like him. There's like there's there's no denying that you need high-end communication skills to be the coach of the Montreal Canadiens. You have more screen time than the Prime Minister of Canada or even the Premier of Quebec, right? Like you're on people's TV screens all the time. And I saw Dominic Ducharme, come up, like in World Juniors and everything. And when you see him in little interviews here and there, it's fine. But you know, I know that hiring people, it's first and foremost, you're hiring people for their hockey knowledge. But I'm surprised that they would hire someone like that. Don't they have a process where they do mock interviews with them, like, and see what they look like on camera? How do they behave on camera? It's such an important part of the job, coach. It just adds so much pressure if you're not able to deal with that. So it was never going to be a good fit from the fans' perspective, just how he came across in interviews and stuff like that. So I feel bad for him because he wasn't really put in a position to succeed. On top of that, in my opinion, I can't think of someone, maybe other than Patrice Brisebois, who had such a terrible ride in terms of how he was kind of treated by some of the players and some of the fans, right? Like the whole thing that he went through with Jeff Petrie, when Jeff Petrie was starting to question his systems and all that stuff. And, you know, it's hard to think of a coach that was fired that was shit on more than Dominic Ducharme, especially if you watch Toronto media. They were like, everybody was blaming Ducharme for Cole Caulfield having a rough start to a season, right? And then automatically Martin St. Louis comes on, then Caulfield starts scoring. It didn't look good. So I'm right with you, coach. Like, there's no question Ducharme is a good hockey guy. I'm not sure he is the kind of guy that can be a head coach in the NHL. Maybe with a little bit more experience, and depends on the market, you know. But I think it's a great hire for Vegas. Similar to what we went through with Reinbacher after the draft. We love our Habs fans, but man, they can cut you. They can they can be really hard, and I think Dominic Ducharme definitely was one of those figures in Habs land that really did not have an easy ride with Habs fans. So I'm with you, Coach. I'm very happy for him that he's able to get back in the NHL.
Well done. We have William McClary with a question here, and I would like to hear you two cents first. I wonder if the LA make a move for Dubois, a 68 million contract extension. If Quinton Byfield progressed, it would have a solved the center problem.
That's a very good question, William. I would add to that also Alfie or Turcotte as well too, right? Like that was a pretty big miss by them. He was a top 10 pick that was supposed to be playing center for them.
I
So I
thought it
think
was
the combination,
6, 7.
Alex, what's his first name again? Alex Turcotte. I always want to call him Alfie Turcotte, but I know that's his dad. But yeah, yeah. So Turcotte, and then Byfield not necessarily hitting that stride. I think that's a really good point. I don't think that Rob Blake and Marc Bergevin, still feels weird to see that. Are there? I think that with them, similar to a team, like maybe like Florida last year, where they thought their rebuild was going to take a bit longer, but then they've had just some really good runs and able to get into the playoffs and really kind of giving the Oilers a lot of trouble in the first round over the last 2 years, right? So I think they're just recognizing that their rebuild is going a bit faster, and in that kind of market, sometimes you just go right, like you just kind of like the Rangers, like you're in the kind of market where you just don't have the ability to be patient necessarily. And listen, like we talked about Dubois at length here over the summer, and thank God it's over. I'm glad it's I'm glad it's over. But listen, they felt it was the right fit for them. Really nice. I guess I would call it succession planning. You know, like you're trying to kind of build up a plan for who's going to succeed. Kopitar as he kind of gets into the golden years of his career here. So that's a really good point, William. Like if Byfield is if he's in a if we're in a world where he's starting to exhibit that he can play top line center minutes, then maybe there's not a need to do that. And especially with Turcotte not panning out, I think it's probably a result of both those things.
Yeah, well said about the many things about what you said about the King. King is very interesting to follow the what happening to them after they won the two Stanley Cup and almost in 3 years, and then you get that kind of another another slum, and to pick up Drave trade a lot of them of the players that won the last Stanley Cup. I think they are only now Kopitar and started that organization with Doughty.
Doubt it, yeah.
That's it, right? And then you have that kind of transformation happening. They kept a lot of picks. You talk about players like you just said, Turcotte, everything, and then you can get
Kalia.
that Byfield. I can go all the way like that, right? But to answer first at the question of William, I will say to you, I don't think so. I think what they happening there, they have Kopitar, they have Dano, and they have Dubois, and they have Byfield. But the same situation with the Montreal Canadiens, I don't compare them with Montreal, but when you have an extra center and you can use them as a top six, and Dubois can play winger. Byfield show again last year, he can play winger. This is a transition with the departure of Kopitar at some point. He's already 35 years old. He will be 36, less TOI. I think that secured them kind of security for a long term with the Los Angeles Kings. Now, on the flip side, you build from the draft, but you need to make some transformation with trade or via UFA. And Kings with Rob Blake and never be afraid to make a trade. They got Dubois, but think about what they did with Fiala. Go like what happening with Advitson with the Nashville. They pick up him almost for nothing in return, and they pick up a lot of trade in return. They got last year Kaprizov with Capricov at the trade deadline. Now they keep Capricov. But with a salary cap at that level, only at 83.5, it's hard to have a perfect template on the position players, forward, defensemen, and goalies. This is a area where they struggle on the goalie, or the salary cap is only at $2.5 million for both goalie. We talk about Cam Dalbot with Ottawa. Now he's a backup over there with Copley, and they have to let it go, Kopisalo. But
Yeah.
again, this is a kind of situation where they will have to figure out at some points of the season. And I said it's over. Still have possible Gibson, possible Alibak. I'm not sure. They can maybe trade with the New Jersey Devils. I don't know. But their defensemen changed a lot in the last two seasons. Think about Walker. Think about Jersey. Two
Jersey,
key
yeah.
element player was with them for the last couple of years. He just moved out. Now you talk about now Doughty, Capricov, and now the really a great pick for me is Michael Anderson. Really good last year with them. They still have Matt Roy, and now they're looking for Brad Clark, the new prospect for them. They're going to be his first full year with the Los Angeles Kings. So they still have
Yeah.
there, but honestly, for me, it would be the response of the goaltender. Ken Copley was just like sometime a goalie get hot at some point for X time, and then they back where they are. Copley never proved it in NHL. He took him only at 30 years old to prove he can be. Is it another Tim Thomas? I have no clue. But this is an area I'm a little bit concerned about the Kings. If you want to finish this subject, Marco, that'd be great.
Well, yeah, but I think that's where Williams' point comes into play, right? Is if Byfield is meeting expectations, then you don't need to sign Dubois, and then you have money to sign Corpusalo or at least another goaltender. So to me, we'll see how it plays out, right? But it seems like they have a lot of money in the center position now. Of course, if you're gonna expend a lot of money, then center position is a is a key part of your roster, obviously. But it seems like a lot of money down the middle, like a lot of proportion there. So we'll see if it's the right move. Like I get it that centers can also play wing, but like you said, Copley and as your starter, I don't know, man. Like I don't know if that's gonna do it. I know LA hasn't had the strongest goaltending and they've made the playoffs, but I don't know if that's really sustainable. So yeah, like I'm not a big Talbot fan at all. So we'll see, but it seems like a lot of money. But listen, Rob Blake is a smart hockey guy. I guess we'll see if he made the right move.
Yeah, and they get always have a lot of solid prospect inside the organization. We don't talk tonight as a defenseman. Jordan Spence is one of them. Tobias Borsfoot never make it yet, but he struggled to get a consistency in NHL. They got Jacob Dvorak, by the way, as on the NHL draft 2023. I think that's a great one. You talk about Akil Thomas never reached the NHL yet, like Portugal. And then they have Chromiak. I think for me, Chromiak could become a solid player in the NHL if he can have that kind of opportunity. And finally, they have Francisco Pinelli. So it's a team going to watch him for sure. He's going to be on the top, I believe, on the top best three team and the Pacific Division for upcoming. Well, a few people knock the door. We're going to welcome Pierre. Welcome aboard. Pierre Joseph, I believe, is in the house. Welcome. Mr. Bill, he said hi to you, Marco. Welcome back, Mr. Bill. Thanks to be a part of the show tonight. Bring on, guys. Any question you want to talk about the Nylander situation, all the case we talked about earlier, they talk each other, so that's great to hear that. They talk about matches and Nylander situation. I agree, it's a big subject over there. RG considers a great content here. RG, thanks so much for information. Please don't forget, guys, to click on the like. That'd be awesome. Gary is in conversation too with Luciano and Randy. Look, guys, you're doing well about this. And up top for Marco. I asked this question and coach already, but who do you think would take a step back this year for the Montreal Canadiens?
Who will take a step back this year? I don't know. Did many players take a step forward last year? I can tell you who I hope doesn't take a step back is Gooley, because to me, he was the player that probably showed the most progress last year, the one that showed the best development. So hopefully Gooley doesn't take a step back. So because I can't really say that did any players other than Harvey Pinard towards the end of the season, where he just really kind of came out of nowhere and had a really productive. I can't say really anybody had a great year last year, right? So I'll say this: Justin Barron showed us glimpses last year, but I'm still not 100% convinced that he's going to be able to stick the whole year. I hope he does, because we really, really need that right hand defenseman. So I don't know. It's hard to say take a step back because he didn't take a full step forward last year. But I'm a little concerned that Barron might not take a step forward, which in a way would be taking a step back, if that makes sense.
I'm supposed to talk about Montreal Canadiens tomorrow, but do we want me to give you guys a bombshell already for the preview tomorrow night?
All right, let's do it. So I can start thinking for tomorrow. Yeah.
Justin Barron started the season with the Laval Rocket, and RHP is going to start the season with the Laval Rockets.
I buy 50% of that.
And the reason why I'm talking about this guy is easy. They are both of them on the waiver exam. And they are the only two can go sent to Laval Rocket for nothing. So, Barron, if you think about this, Marco, you're absolutely right. Why? Because if you think what they have, Savard, Kovacevic, Whiteman, and then you have the four order, the Harris, the Cooley, the Jekai, and I missed one right now. Cooley and Madison. All right. So I believe Harris, it may be still a waiver list, but you're not going to send Harris over Barron. So I think, unfortunately, Barron is going to be start the season with Laval Rocket, at least one of the 7 players just talking about are going to have a really bad training camp,
You
or
don't think it would
someone
be
could be
Weidman? You
injured.
don't think it would
Of
be
course.
Weidman though? You
I'm
don't
sorry.
think they would do that with you don't think they would send Weidman down
No,
instead because he's too popular?
the leader, the brain, the way he did, the way he accept the same situation. You talk about this. There's a great point with Pesada as an extra forward versus RHP. I don't say RHP is going to be past the season Laval Rocket. I'm just talking if we have no other movement, Pitlick will be the one to go down, and then I expect now RHP because the exam at the beginning of the season. I would not be surprised it's happening to them. And I said it will,
That,
but this is the
yeah.
one reason I believe they could do. The only other way they could go around it's maybe Mike Hoffman to send to Laval Rocket. That's the only thing I
But
can
coach,
see that. But again, I would not be shocked if RHP started the season at the beginning. Now we know and understand for everybody here, you are wrong because he started the season. Yeah, Devorak is missing the first, second, but I wouldn't be surprised RHP at some point because the situation about everything they have, it could be returned in Laval Rocket because his time to arrive will be limited with the Montreal Canadiens at the beginning of the season. The reason I'm talking this way is because you talk about who have a
take a
step
step back.
back,
Yeah.
a step down back for upcoming. The only player I was talking about, I think for me, I'll be a little bit concerned. Hopefully, it will not happen. Is Josh Anderson. Um, you have two kind of season last year. The first until you have many injuries before we got a lot of like the injury with I would say Sakaski and Gallagher and Drouin and everybody, right? And then he got an opportunity and he picked it up there. He really played on a special team, play a lot of TOI, 18 minutes, and he's starting to perform very well. Finished with the season with 21 goals, I think with 19 goals. But at the end of the day, can he stay on the top two line? This is what we're looking for Josh Anderson. For me, this is one of them. And the rest is difficult. When you have a second year only in NHL like Cody, Jakai, Sakoski, and you know what I mean. Um, Hopefully, it did not
So
happen to Caulfield, right? It's on one. Could be that cannot be regressed. They have to be developed better. But it's really good question. It's a good thing to talk about this. But this is what I'm talking about: RHP and Baron.
but so two things and then we can move on, coach. So first of all, just from a PR perspective, if RHP doesn't start the season, the fans are going to shit their pants.
The
They're
only thing I
not
would
going to
say
like
to you, if I think it would start because when you think about the Varex situation, right? But when the Varex
yeah.
coming back, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just playing the third four line for a limit time. He was sent back. And remember, Marco,
It's
because I know what you're
possible,
talking
but
about, I will set you this. Remember, Ken Hughes don't really care about what the ab think, the fans thinking. He did with Sakoski,
no,
he did
no,
with New
no,
Hook,
no.
and he did with Rebecca.
I wasn't. So I was just saying that as the first point. First of all, the fans are going to shit their pants if it does happen. Okay, but
Yeah,
I'm not saying Ken Hughes is going to make a decision based on that. I'm just saying prepare for it because they're
yeah.
not going to like.
Of
Okay,
course.
but the second point I'll tell you, and we learned this last year and the year before, is everything you just said is assuming that there's no injuries. But of course, there's going to be injuries. How many times last year in October were you and I and Karin and Enertap were like, okay, so listen, it's the last week before training camp. They're going to have to cut someone. Who's it going to be? And we did a whole show on, okay, oh my God, who's going to go or who they're going to keep? And then, oh, all of a sudden, Armia's injured for a month. And now they don't have to make that decision, right? Magically, they find ways to, if somebody's got a little bobo, then they just kind of put them aside because they'll find a way to massage the roster so that they don't have to make those decisions, right? So I would be surprised if it comes to that. Like, of course, and I think somebody in the chat just mentioned, are we sure that RHP's deal is not one way though? Because didn't he just sign a one-way deal? And his like, isn't this his first year that he's one way in his new contract? He was an RFA before
Who you
RHP.
talking about?
RHP. He doesn't have a two-way deal anymore, right? Because he was an RFA.
Yeah.
But I
uh,
agree with you about Barron.
yeah,
Barron, I could 100% see that happening, but it's going to come down to merit in the training camp, right? Like, again, like if it's anything like last year, he did not really perform well in the pressure of the training camp. Again, he had really nice moments. I was the first one to admit it last year when he had really good moments when he came back up from Laval. But then towards the end of the year, I started seeing some things in his game that crept back in. He had a really good world championship for Canada. Like he had some really good moments, but then again, there was things in his game that I saw there as well too that I was like, I don't know. Like, so we'll see. So if there's anybody that here are players that this will be a disaster if they regress. Doc, like you mentioned, if Doc has a regression, then we're in trouble because he's a corner piece to what we're doing moving forward. Lee, another player that is not allowed to regress. He's a core piece. We need to see him continue to progress. Slavkovsky, we can't say he's going to regress from last year because we didn't really get a snapshot of who he is. But we need to see progression as a fan base. There's like 6 players that we can't miss on. They need to progress next year, or else we're going to be really nervous. And I think I mentioned most of them. Caulfield and Suzuki, we kind of already know who they are, right? And that's weird to say because Caulfield hasn't even played a full season in the NHL yet. But I think everybody's reasonably confident that we know what Cole Caulfield is. We're very
yeah.
confident we know who Nick Suzuki is. But Doc, there's still question marks, right?
Absolutely right about that. We'll talk about more about the Montreal Canadiens tomorrow night, but great to have
Yeah.
those kind of questions. That'd be awesome. Thanks so much, Dan. Hopefully doing well, Dan Asham. We have, and just answer quickly to in our tap, Shane Pinto and Igor Zokolov are the two player forward for the Ottawa Senators. They have no contract yet for the upcoming season. For the Ottawa Senator. Jose, thanks so much for all the conversation you have in the chat between everybody. We appreciate that. Mr. GSM is in the house. Every time as I heard a coach that have fell, it's a part of the gym, the go, is a part of the hockey sport. Tournier is very good with the press. Luc Lafortune talk about Tourigny. Tourigny is back now with the Laval Rocket after he was loaned. Will be a starter with the Laval Laval Rocket for
I think he's
upcoming
talking
season.
about the bear, right? In that with the Phoenix Coyotes.
So again,
Was Lick just talking about Turigny, the coach?
you
Like,
talk about Tourigny with the Arizona Coyotes. Yes, you're absolutely right
yeah,
about that one over there. He's very good with the press, but he's very good with the players too. He picked up a
he's
lot of great of each one of them. Apologize for that. Because we talk about Montreal Canadiens I was still on that one there. Look, he always brings some kind of the subject I'm not supposed to talk about. We love you. Look, I've been sentenced for being a head coach in the NHL. GSM, a great point about that one. Coach, are the league still on Carlson, Mr. Marco? I can answer that, but
they shouldn't be. I would be like it would be such a weird.
no.
I don't think they are.
They are not. They have the only team right now really close to that deal is the San Jose Sharks right now with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They are the team already close about that situation. That's it. As I was very soon. They are supposed to be because GSM takes them out. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. That'd be awesome. We have a question for Gary. Alex and Afisura are cut from the same club. Cloud I pick. I would disappoint result. Yeah. Obviously, they never been that kind of player. There was expectation in NHL. RG gave us a lot of great comments over there. Tabat cannot carry the load in LA. I agree with you, William. Campbell the bot, for my opinion, is a little bit more the backup number 2 in NHL. I think it would be, the end for him over there. I'm talking about the people who have got others signed McLeod to a 2 years contract. Randy Walkman confirmed about this one then. Swimming to LA next year, Luciano. Swimming signed a new contract today. We're going to talk about all the stuff and in the
Yeah.
in the next couple of minutes, guys. I thought to pick up everything in the chat before we continue talking. Great comment, Luc Lafortune. Captain never played more 37 games in the season, and it should. Ottawa think it will take you to the promised land. About that one over there for Capussalo, of course, it will be interesting from a goaltender in Finland. What he's going to do with a new team, the Ottawa Senator, and NHL for the upcoming season. Don't forget, guys, click on the like. That'd be awesome. Try to pick it up everything in the chat, Marco, before we talk a little bit on the subject. Savard will struggle as the only veteran as a right defenseman. David Savard, Mr. Aki, Andy Kovila is in the house, Mr. Marco. Glad to have him aboard. Baron is the only good young right defenseman in the team.
Really? We just drafted one 5th overall.
Yeah, but he talk about in the roster right now.
In the roster, well, yeah, like clearly it was a huge position
but
of need.
I think for me, Kovacevic is underrated.
Underrated for sure.
Right?
He's, to me, you could slot Kovacevic as your bottom pairing right-hand defenseman for the next 3 years. He's kind of like a right-handed Kulak. maybe not as mobile, but his skating is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think very serviceable for sure.
JSS and Montreal are going to start with the season with 8 defensemen. Yes or no?
No, I don't think so. To me, it doesn't make sense that they would. I think they're going to have to try to do something with Wideman. I really do.
Said. I agree with you about that one there. Wideman would be put on the waiver.
I don't think they have a choice, Coach. Like, I maybe somebody picks him up. Like, to me, as what sometimes you see teams do this, right? Like, if they know that a very well liked veteran is not going to be able to get his minutes, sometimes it's especially if he's popular in the room, the most popular thing that you can do with the players is let him give the opportunity to go and play some minutes on a team where he can have a chance to play some minutes and maybe earn another contract. So maybe that's kind of the angle that they'll take. I know that he's very well liked in the dressing room and all that, but I think if they really respect him, and it looks like they do, they might give him an opportunity to at least go get some minutes somewhere else. He's on the last year of his contract. Go out there and try to earn yourself another contract with a team that's going to have more of a chance to use you.
So here's a question for you: who do you sit on the hell to scratch? Baron, Aris, Jekai?
So again, this is assuming that everybody's healthy, which is almost never the case, right? But assuming everyone is healthy, for me, we've talked about this, Coach. I'm not sure that Harris is really the guy. I know that there's a bias. I don't want to call it a bias because it seems like it's a bad thing or that's a conspiracy or something like that. But it's clear that Hughes has a relationship or a bit of a bias towards those, Boston, Massachusetts kind of players. And, he did sign him, to his entry level contract. And Harris had a lot of leverage when he signed that contract. But to me, the odd man out in this whole thing is Harris.
So let me send my question. Do you are you willing to put a young defenseman sit on the top, watching the game, let him play in Laval Rocket, play a lot of minutes, and then call him back when they need him, and to sit just Whiteman all day long and every game at the top?
It's not a bad point. Yeah. So if it was between
this my
sending,
point at the end.
not a bad
I
point.
tried to squeeze you.
Okay. So your point is, okay, so by keeping Wideman as your 7th defenseman, it allows you to send either Harris to, so it would either be
Aris or Baron and Laval.
Yeah, so you put Baron and Laval, which allows him to kind of get his bearings again and hopefully build his game up, assuming he has a bad camp. If he has a great camp, though, and he earns his
of course. And again, I'm just talking about sometime you make some kind of a short decision because you don't want to make any, make it. You have no choice at the end of the day. The easy way is to send back Baron or Harris for 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, and then you keep Whiteman, and then you go sit Whiteman, let play the sixth player over there, and we see what happening after 3, 4, 5, 6 games. Again, I'm not trying to be like negative or mean here. I just try to give you another perspective of what
Yeah, for sure.
you
And
know.
I think GSM. Yes, we know that Harris and Jacky are both left-handed defensemen. We know that, but we do know that at certain points during the year, Harris did play on the right side. Not that I think that was a great utilization, but yeah, there's a huge lack of depth on the right side of Montreal's young decor, which is why they went out and drafted for Reinbacher. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, GSM coach and I are familiar with the fact that Jacky and Harris are both left-handed.
Marco, with Whiteman clear.
I don't think so. I think he's on a pretty respectable number. I think for us, I think he can be a pretty useful guy as a second power play unit guy. He has a pretty good reputation. I think he had kind of a reputation issue, with the whole Uber taxi situation that happened. But I think his time in Montreal has definitely given him the ability to rehab his performance or his reputation around the NHL. And don't forget, coach, he almost got voted to the All Star game. So
Yeah.
maybe there would be a team that would actually kind of take a chance on him
Yeah,
if
I'll
he
be
went to.
disagree with you. I would say he's turned 32 years old now. And I think again, I would say to you, all the team are thinking make the playoff. I don't think so. I don't think they would get Whiteman. Sorry, cap is not a big problem for him, but the other team, like they are looking to, they have add Whiteman. I think they would prefer to keep the prospect or the player like they already have before they open the door to Whiteman. At least the team is really under bad shape about defensemen with injuries, everything like that. So for me, I would say no. I don't think so. Um,
Kind of
and you
like
know what?
Montreal should.
At the end of the day, for him, I don't see like a big problem. What you talk about? First of all, he's going to keep the same kind of money at the end of the day. Play Laval Rocket, he stay in the same house, stay with his wife, with his new kids. You know what I mean? Like the chance for him, if if I'm thinking about Chris Whiteman, I think I would say, you know what, I prefer to go Laval to go play for another team, and I think that would be. But
Oh
again,
yeah, like you hope for him though that he would get picked. Like that was my point, right? Is so it's a very good point, right? Like, remember last year when we were talking about whether you could put Hoffman in Laval, and we were both like, "Ew, that's not what you want, right? Like, you don't want Hoffman going to Laval, especially this year when there's actual prospects playing in Laval, ones like prospects that you actually care that you want to create a good environment, not just kind of like overaged AHL players that are playing there. Weidman is not like that. He would go down there and like kind of like Carl Alsner went down to Laval and he was a true professional. Every day he worked hard. He did the right thing. I think we'd all expect that Chris Weidman would be like that if he did have to go to Laval. But if you're a Chris Weidman fan, if you as a human being or as a hockey player, you hope for him that that somebody else picks him up, right? Because I'm sure he would prefer to have an opportunity to play at the NHL level and potentially earn at least one more contract before he moves on, right? So would he pass a waiver? Again, there's so many variables. Like you said, coach, there could be injuries. Some team might feel like they just need somebody to a little bit of help on the second unit power play for a little period of time until somebody comes back. So it really depends on the marketplace at the time in October when like rosters are being formed. But you're right, coach. At the beginning in October, everybody thinks they have a Stanley Cup roster, right? And they all want to give their young players an opportunity, right? So it should be interesting to see what happens with Weidman, but there definitely seems to be a couple too many bodies on the back end.
Yeah. I always said, Marco, when I started that channel like 3 years ago, was trying to give the best information I can sharing with people so they can learn a bit more about the rules, everything like that. And we have a great question here for RHP. As a one-way deal, we need to clear the waiver. Are you agree with that or not?
That's my understanding, right? Is that was the big thing this year, right? He was a restricted free agent, which means he's no longer on his entry level contract. So, I don't think he, kind of like Ylonen, did sign a two-way deal this year, if that's my understanding, right? So Ylonen could actually be on waivers. I think there's other rules around that. Like I think you can only be on waivers for a certain amount of days. Like I forget the exact rules, but it's not like you can send him up and down a whole bunch of times. But there's a little bit more flexibility with Ylonen. But I think with RHP, he did not sign a two-way contract. It's a one-way contract. So I believe, if they did put him on waivers, then he would be subject to claim.
All right. So let's give you a little bit more information about that. I will understand. The one way or the two way have no effect for the waiver. So I want to be sure everybody understands. So whatever you have a 1 year contract, it's not effect. It's where it start one year you get the draft is the most important things go with that part. So if you are draft at 18 years old, start like Sakoski, he has 5 years. I thought to give you the right number here. I have for you. My page move up. He has 5 years or 155 game before he's still a waiver on the waiver exam. So the case of RHP has two ways. He's 24 years old. This is his last year of eligibility to be exempt. Secondly, if you are 24 years old and you have only played 2 years in the NHL, you're still exempt. Or if you play, again, my page move up, I'll give you 56 game in NHL. He played only 38 game. So this is the reason why he's exempt to be on the waiver form at that moment with the Montreal Canadiens. So the reason behind that, 24 years old or 56 game is the time. If you are 23 years old, it's a 3 years, 57, and I can go all the way up over there until 18 years old. But if you are 25 years
But
old, go ahead.
there's still other rules too, right? Like so, so now it's ringing a bell what you're saying, but there's also other rules too, right? Like so, if you go on waivers and you're in that category of player, like isn't there something where you can only be in the AHL for a certain amount of days? Like, isn't there some other rules around that as well?
No, you talk about like if you are on the waiver about that, but yes, front employee can be sent directly to our mechanical colleague, depend their age and the name of the game they play, or you can, of course, you cannot be trade back the players right away to the same team and return, or if he's back on the waiver, the team cannot pick it up him. So you have a certain rule like that, but otherwise, there are no time frame to keep the player on your team.
Okay.
So that's one to be
Good to know.
sure is understanding. So I just want to open up that conversation about the reason RHP. And the reason I like that, Mr. Marco, is because that will helping me to remember all the rules, everything like that. I knew I said it before. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago in my app Daily News. Great comment here. Luciano with the Pittsburgh Penguins coming very soon. Talk about them. We talk about them a lot of time anyway. The depth on the defense is LD. Byron is RD. Yes, GS, the only thing I would say to you for Marco, he was trying to explain to you, you have Rebacker, you have Logan Mayu now, inside with Kovacevic. They are on the right side of this for the Montreal Canadiens. They are not ready yet, but we'll see. To send any player on the one-way deal to the American, they need to clear the waiver. Not right now, GSM. I just give you the deal, the exam, the rule in NHL right now. RG consider give us some great comments about this, and we need to clear the waiver. You absolutely right about that for Primo. The goaltender have other exam about this, but Primo right now is it was draft year before Pinard, and that's the reason why now he's on the 5 years eligibility in NHL. That's the reason he become a goaltender eligible on the waiver now and not exempt anymore. RG considered performing here. Troy pick it up. Jimmy Bond. Boy, I apologize. Jimmy Boy is in the house. Welcome in the house. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, to click on the likes. That'd be awesome. That would be a great. St. Carlson to Islanders. Lou is giving more money away. Luciano. Heard a rumor the Flame are trading Huberdeau and Cruzado for Hoffman and Primo. About this one, Pittsburgh missed by 1 point. Yari missed half the season. Team will have 90 points. They would be one of the team if Jerry played 55 game. Uh, I, I think with a better performance of Travis Jerry and less of injury, I think the Pittsburgh Penguins make the playoff last season. What do you feel about that?
I think you're right, Coach. Like, it's really a goaltending issue, I think, in Pittsburgh. I liked the suggestion earlier about Swayman. Like, I don't know if you have that on the list of things to talk about, but I'm sure Boston was not a huge fan of the arbitration ruling in favor of Jerry Swayman today. That was probably a much higher number than they were hoping for. I don't know if it's, I don't know, like, I don't know if you were planning to talk about this, but Swayman versus Allmark, right? Like, I know Allmark just won the Vezina Trophy, but are you really? Have you seen enough from Swayman to rest your future hopes on him? You know, he's a much younger goaltender. They're pretty similar numbers last year. Like, he had pretty good numbers, but listen, you just played on the most successful regular season team in NHL history, right? With the Selke Trophy winner, with very solid systems and everything. So, have we seen enough from Jeremy Swayman, if you're Boston, to move on from the Vezina Trophy winner last year? Or do you move Swayman, who is your young upcoming goaltender? That's a tough one. If they are going to move him, then I can't think of a better place other than Pittsburgh. Like, I'm sure Dubas, looked around to see what he could do. If you can't be confident going into this season, which is a very important season for the Penguins, right? Like, you don't have a lot of bullets in the chamber left if you're Crosby, Letang, and Malkin. So you can't afford, like, to have any goaltending issues if you're going to, potentially make the playoffs again. It's going to be hard for Washington and Pittsburgh to reintegrate. Like, who's going to drop out? Islanders, maybe. But other than that, like, you have Buffalo, you've got Ottawa, you've got those Atlantic, kind of upstart teams that are going to start making it even harder for you to jump in. Columbus is going to, I think they're going to be right there. Columbus is going to be a lot better this year.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Here's this, we talk about the Boston Bruins, everything like that. Decision is because they have a really solid goaltender over there. Brendan Bussy, or Bussy, but Busse. So Bussy, maybe the best way to describe his name. Have a really great year last year with the Providence Browns. The last 2 seasons, another goaltender for the Western, I think Western Michigan. I'm not sure. But he's a player like NCAA and Swimmen. Swimmen is real deal. 41 game prior last year, 37 game I think this year. His number are excellent as a stat. Save percentage is great. 6'2", 187 pounds. I really believe on Swimmen. The problem with Boston Bruins, I think what they would love to do is Ulmark. It could be out at some point with the Boston Bruins. And then to bring the two young goaltenders, Swimmen and Bossy. Now, Ulmark is still one more year final contract next season. So I think they will start with Ulmark, and I don't think they will trade Swimmen. And then after that, they will maybe try to let it go Ulmark next year and keep Swimmen as the goaltender number one and then show for the Boston Bruins. So that would be my best.
But if you're Boston, you know, because you've been so competitive for a long time, I don't think, from an asset management perspective, I don't think you can allow Allmark to just walk out for nothing. You need to turn him into something. So would you be better off moving him now, maybe it's
No,
like we were
because he
talking
can
about
run a 2
today.
years contract at $5 million. So I think they will wait next season where they have only one final contract. The team does not want to commit a goaltender like that, where you have only a magic year, but it was not like usually what he bring on the table. And then you can see in the playoff he struggled against the Panthers, so they are a little bit concerned. For me, I think they will wait one more year. I think a team I would be concerned me to give a trade for Ulmark right now at $5 million, and not sure what kind of Ulmark I get. Is it a Ulmark last
It's
season or is it Ulmark prior to that?
You think you'd have problems trading? Maybe you're right, but it sounds to me like the Vezina winning goaltender on a 5 million cap hit for 2 years is not a bad deal. If you're Los Angeles, or maybe if you're Winnipeg after you're forced to trade Hellebuck,
That's
you know.
because the salary cap is another problem. Secondly, what you get in return. I think the value Ulmark it will be higher if I'm Boston Brown next year on his final contract versus right now.
But I don't know, like, what if he doesn't have as good of a year? He's just won the Vezina Trophy. Is it conceivable that his value could ever be any higher than it is right now after winning the Vezina, just because of his contract? It depends on the situation. Maybe, like, I get the whole idea of 1 year versus 2 years in a very tight salary cap, but again, it depends on the marketplace more than anything, right? Like, again, if you're the Winnipeg Jets and you're desperately trying to, that Hellebuck is not going to sign with you, right? So you have to do something. So you're going to have to move him at some point, and you're going to need to backfill that position, right? So, not saying that there's a trade partner there for Winnipeg and Boston, but Winnipeg is going to need to do something with goaltending. Los Angeles is going to need to do something with goaltending based on our conversation today. So there's a lot of teams that are, that think they're going to be competitive that are going to need goaltending. And I get it. It might be he might be easier to move, but I don't know if you're going to convince me that he'll be more valuable than immediately after winning the Vezina Trophy. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see what happening for sure. Mr. Real Deal and Danny are back in the house. Welcome back, both of you. Thank great comments, guys. And the chat, GSM, yes, Crosby is key. You cannot compare them. It's not the same level at that moment. So it's very hard about that. Luciano, I keep your spot right there, April 13. You can join me when you going to set the Pittsburgh Penguins make the playoff on 2023-2024. I agree with you about this one over there. Savard and Barron are the team best right defensemen, GSM. Harris is a victim of the overcrowd left defenseman for Luc Laverson. Mr. KLS is in the house. Thanks so much, guys. Don't forget to click on the likes. William said that Columbus Blue is going to make the playoff from his GM. Columbus need a goalie number one. Then I would say it could make the playoff. But they have
Let's
Muskegon, but he didn't perform well. Now, I'm still believe Tarasov could become a good goalie in NHL. He just need he's a younger one. I don't know how you feel about Tarasov.
I think he's got all the tools, right? Like, he showed really nice glimpses last year. Coach, I think Columbus is, a very, we talked about this over the last couple of shows. Like, Columbus has a lot of interesting things going on. I don't know if it's things are going to have to go their way for sure, but they're going to be right there. They're going to be in the dog hunt. Kaikalainen, I was watching the Helinka tournament this morning, and he was interviewed on TSN, and you can see like he was pretty adamant that their point is to contend for a playoff spot this season. They're not screwing around. They want to really take a stab at making the playoffs. So I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
think he's
sorry.
done. Yeah.
Welcome back, Nicolas de Gobi Bono. Welcome in the house. Thanks for being with us. Does not Harris also have a 1 year deal? He has a 1 year deal, but again, it's not matter 1 year deal or 2 year way deal for the contract GSM. Whiteman with Clay Smith at the beginning of the year, and our top coach Marco Tampa Bay has $68 million try up with 8 plus. How do you take balance? All the rest of the team they are at $90 million, sir.
That's a very good question. Julien Brisebois has found a lot of creative ways to do that over the last couple of years. I think Stamkos becomes a UFA at the end of this season, coach, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah.
I don't think his number is going to go up from what it is, but I don't think it's going to go down that much either, depending on how productive he is this year. But with the marketplace as it is, I don't think see his number going down that much. So, you can see how much cap space is, how much Tampa Bay values that, like based on the trades that they've made, like trading for players like Tyler Jeannot, having cost certainty and player control is one of the biggest priorities for Julien Brisebois. Trading away multiple first round picks just to have middle six players that he knows that he'll be able to control at a mid-range number to fill out his roster. At some point, it's going to be kind of like the Chicago Blackhawks from after they won their cups, but it's a bit slower of a process. Like, you remember that Chicago Blackhawks team? They had to get rid of Bufflin. They had to get rid of all these players like Sharp even and all that after they won their cups. This year they lost another piece, Killorn, which was, I think they tried everything they could to try to keep Killorn, and he's in Anaheim, I believe, now this year. So, how long can Tampa keep this puzzle together? Like, it's great to have that core, and you have a lot of faith in Julien Brisebois and Mathieu Darche to kind of find what the fancy word is, ancillary pieces or complementary pieces to put around those players. But those players have a lot of mileage on them. Point, Kucherov, Stamkos. That's a lot of minutes. That's a lot of hockey that they've played. Over the last couple of years. So that's a very good question. That's a lot of that's a lot of roster spots to fill out with not a lot of salary cap room. So he'll have to continue to be very creative.
Yeah, to simplify the thing for right now, they are see broke on the long term. They're going to drop the money for $6.8 million, I believe it is 6.8. So that will helping them on the salary cap. Now, the biggest problem, like he said, $68 million for 8, 9 players, for 10 players max for upcoming and the 24, 25th. But again, it's a template where they really believe the core still here. More longer the core is getting older. This is a big problem about that one there. But the core I'm talking about, the only two player is really older is Edmund at 32. You have 2 years contract, and then you have Stamkos at 33 years old. The rest of them are under 30 years old. So maybe Stamkos
But
will be signing a new contract younger, lower.
but it's not the years, it's the mileage, as they say, right? Like Braden Point might be under 30, but my God, he's got really tough Brendan Gallagher almost like
Yeah, but he's
miles
still
on that.
performing, right?
He is for sure, but he's for sure. I love Braden Point. He's an elite, like a top 10 player in the league, but he got injured a lot last year as well too, right? So earlier playoff exit for them. So look for Vasilevsky to have to bounce back. It's incredible. Like, Vasilevsky is a total freak. Like, you don't see goalies that play those amount of games, but the amount of games that he's played in the last like 4 or 5 years is unreal.
But
Like,
he
the
hit the
guy is
wall against Toronto. We have a same percentage, what,
yeah.
87, 88. So it's a thing.
Well,
Look,
and they
it's
found
it's a will, right? It's a will in the NHL. You win the Stanley Cup, maybe close, and then you disappear. And that's why right now, you look about the lineup right now: Sherry, Archibald, Eisenman, Clendening, Brown, Barry Boulet. Took those 5, 6 names I just mentioned to you. Compare Gourds, Palat, Maroon, Perry, I miss Coleman,
Lauren.
Goodrow, right? And now you look what you have there. It's
Yeah.
you have a
Well,
short window,
yeah,
Marco, and if you have it, go get it. If
yeah.
not,
Yeah, yeah, for
We
sure.
talked last week. I think you all one what I not talking about the window of Carolina Hurricane. Some
Yeah,
point
yeah,
they don't make it, it'll be very hard for
yeah,
them. So it's
yeah,
great conversation so far
yeah.
with the people. Great question, William, about this. Arizona maybe claim Whiteman for 1 year. Possible. We'll see what it could happen. But it's a big question mark for me for the Columbus Blue Jacket. About the Scotland, Kimberly, and the other site. Back up
Can
with
we
Ed,
can
who
we
win the
stop on
Coach
that?
of the Year.
Can we talk about that? I've heard a lot of yeah, I don't know if he'll win Coach of the Year, but similar to what we are talking about, Coach, before with Guy Boucher about how smart people overall learn from their mistakes, right? So I know everybody's shitting all over Mike Babcock. Trust me, I've heard some of the things that he did, like benching Spezza on his on his first game playing against Ottawa, not letting Mike Modano play his 1,000th game in the NHL. Like, trust me, and the things he did to Mitch Marner, those are all terrible things. But if you look at kind of what he's done over the last year, I believe in second chances. I definitely believe that you can learn from your mistakes and you can evolve as a human being. And it sounds like Mike Babcock really took a step back here, went and coached some junior hockey, and learned that he needs to kind of change how he does things, right? So I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if he'll win Coach of the Year, but I think a lot of good things are going to happen with Columbus, and I think he'll be a big part of it.
Yeah, I just want to open the door for my Babcock. The time what happening with him got fired. That's just a little bit what happening in the NHL. When you get a new GM, and any team. What he bring, he tried to surround himself with the people he knew and he worked before in the past. That's what Dubas did, and he have Sheldon Keefe since he grew with the OHL. So they just wait at the moment what Babcock struggle a bit, and they just let him go, and they get Sheldon Keefe. It's just the consequence of different things happening together. Because at the end of the day, Mike Babcock he was doing a very good job to teaching the young men to become a hockey professional. You can have that kind of situation with Marner. I understand that. But I think I have two both sides at some point. And I just feel like Babcock will be fine with Columbus Blue Jacket. The key of the Blue Jacket, guys, and is going to be the center position. I wish they could get another center. I don't know. It's not good enough for Adam Fantilli to carry on that kind of the shoes for the upcoming season. But they make a lot of great trade for the defenseman. The defense guy is solid over there. If the goaltender can carry on the load with the performance of the top six over there, I think that team could maybe push other team out of the playoff. It may be contender until to the end of the year. I don't say they're going to make it, but I think it's a better team at what we expect compared to what they have last season. I think one thing could be fall apart is really the Boston Bruins, in my opinion, for the standing from compared for last season. We'll talk about those situations next show of the NHL about that. And Rabinap is in the house. Welcome back, and Rabinap. I'll let people talk about something in the chat. Keep going on. That just
People
gonna
people are not
talk to this at a point.
people are not very forgiving. Not very forgiving with Mike Babcock, from what I can tell.
We have Mr. Gary Cournoyer. In my opinion, if the Blues don't do nothing else roster, while they maybe not make the playoff next season, it's a one thing, guys. We did more the show, guys, to answer your question at what we're supposed to do at the show tonight. Honestly, and one thing I would say to you here, it's about the NHL rumor. Let's move on. This Boston Bruins, Calgary, Winnipeg, San Jose, Pittsburgh, New York Rangers. The Boston Bruins is honestly what they're targeting now to know without Bergeron and possibly 99.9 Krejcik. They're really targeting two players, in my opinion. One is Elias Lindholm for the Calgary Flame. The other one is Max Sheffley. This is what I believe Boston Bruins are trying to do something right there. How do you feel about that? And what do you think they should do, a trade or not for one of the two players?
That's a tough one, right? Like, yeah, I don't think like in Boston, it's similar to a market like Philadelphia, right? Like where it's very hard to do like a full rebuild, right? Like you can compare it to the Penguins, right? Like there's people that that have, they were very critical that at some point they should have just rebooted and traded Malkin, traded Letang. I don't think there was any chance they were going to trade Crosby. But with Boston, like you have Marchand, who like look at LA, right? Like, so we were just talking about how LA, they kept two or three pieces to do a rebuild after they had won a cup, right? So they kept Kopitar and they kept Doughty. So you really only just have Marchand, Pasternak from that. Pasternak is still a pretty young asset though, but Marchand is what, like 33 as well. So it's not like you can do a full reload and be competitive for the next 4 or 5 years, kind of like what LA is doing. So it's a tough one, coach. Like, do you want to, like, are you really extending your window by going out and spending a whole bunch of assets to get a center right now to stay competitive? And is it realistic? Do you have enough depth of young prospects to really kind of do what LA is doing? Because the only reason that LA is able to do like a reload like they've done is because they had all these young assets that were coming from below, right? Boston doesn't have that, not even close. So let's say you're even able to trade for Lindholm or for Scheifele. What's it going to cost you? And like, what do you have left in the cupboard to build like a balanced team after that? Even if you still have Pasternak and Marchand, you just traded Hall.
But what you do, I
What
will
else is
give you a proposal here. First round pick and Swimmen to
yeah?
for Sheffley and maybe a prospect at the whatever you want to name it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say, so it's not just what you have to pay to get Shifley, right? But what I'm saying is that, so okay, let's say you pull that trade off, you trade Swayman and a first round pick, and you now have Mark Shifley. Okay, so he's going to play with Pasternak and with Marchand. That's a very, very good first line. But are you going to win the Stanley Cup with the rest of that roster? Who's your second line center?
So what you try to do, the reason I said that is because you don't want to waste the time of your player like Pasternak and McEnroy example, where they
Yeah.
already, you know what I mean? Like you try to fill up right there. After that, they have Charlie McCoy, Charlie Coy, Pavel Zakak, Jake DeBrusk, right there. They signed GVR on that one. Of course, the team they look like they are not the same as the last of Bergeron, but you cannot let go everything and not to bring anything else. I think they would be aggressive to get another center for the future. Langholm is only 28 years old, so I think they will be. I think about this. I think they will be. I'm not sure. I think the matchup or the trade is better with Sheffley versus
You
Langholm,
know,
but I
yeah.
think they would be aggressive.
You're probably right, coach, but you can see how it's a bit of there's a bit of an option there, right? Like, to me, it's a very, very short window that they're extending here. Like, I get McAvoy and Pasternak are younger cornerstone pieces. Marchand is not, right? So again, like, so to me, let's talk about the other way they can go. So you still have McAvoy and Pasternak, right? Similar to how they had LA had Kopitar and Doughty. If you're losing Bergeron, why wouldn't you consider trading Marchand as well? Then you kind of like take a step back this year and maybe another 2 years. If you reload up for the next, say, 2-3 years, McAvoy and Pasternak, you're basically wasting 2 of their years, but then you're giving them maybe 4 years to come back for a second wave, kind of like what LA is doing.
Now,
That's another way to do it.
yeah, and sometimes you it's difficult to trade a players like he been with the team for many years. He become like an icon for the organization, like Sidney Crosby,
Yeah, yeah.
example,
I get it.
Ovechkin. I agree with
I get
you.
it.
Marchand is the same thing with Ulmark. Next year, not this year, the following year, is on the final contract at 37 years old. So for me, if you want to do the same thing with remaining contract, and maybe trade him at the trade deadline, get something in return, a first round pick or something else,
Mm.
that will helping them more right now.
But that
I think the fact you
but
trade
that makes
Marchand right
even less.
now, that would be hard. Yeah.
But that makes even less sense if so. So if you go out and you trade for Shifley this year, and you trade Marchand at the trade deadline next year, that makes even less sense to me. Like if you're going to trade for Shifley right now, then to me that's the all. So it's really two ways, right? You're going all in right now to continue, like you're going all in with all your assets to continue the current wave that you're in or the current phase that you're in. Or the second option is you build the Rosternock and McAvoy, which are your core, and Swayman. To me, Swayman is another core young piece, right? And the second option is you don't go all in for next season. You're looking maybe 3 years from now and going for a second wave with McAvoy and Pasternak. Those are the two options. I agree that it's most likely that they'll go with the first option because you're right. It's very, very hard to trade, an icon and a center stone piece like Marchand. But it's the same debate that you had with the Penguins over the last 3 years, right? Like, is it the right decision to hold on to Malkin and Letang until the wheels fall off completely and you're going to be left with nothing, right? That's the
Yeah,
question.
it's not a team like like Pittsburgh, where they really try to win the Stanley Cup in the short time, and they make a lot of trade deadline. They try to pick it up, and then they not build from the foundation to have some kind of the backup in the next couple of years, and that's the problem they have. They have no prospect inside the organization. They are really stuck. It's a team right now. I feel like they're going to be between 15 to 24 in NHL standing in the next couple of years. They don't make something there. And Pittsburgh will be the same thing. So we're going to be good enough, but not good enough to make the playoff, but stuck in the race until to the end. This is what I believe they are right now, the Boston Bruins.
That's and to me that's the worst. That's the
That's the
worst place
worst.
to
The
be.
Montreal has been there for many years,
Yeah.
right?
So
And a lot of
so
great
it might
comments,
be the
guys, in the chat. We apologize where the time is flying. Adam Berger is in the house. Welcome, Adam. Yes, it's out here in Thailand for sure. We have a couple of things about this. Team Canada talk about William Pisa. Is it Misa? I think it's Misa. Pick up a 5 point today. About this, Misa, exactly. Misa is a draft pick for 2025 for that one over there. GSM believe that Pittsburgh is going to make the playoff too. About this, Pascal will urge the Boston Bruins, Pittsburgh Penguins, the base on the jersey on the success since 90 conference. Flame at three goalie guys, Wolf, Vladar, and Max Strom. That's the reason I said the matchup would be a little bit better if you trade Swimmen to the Winnipeg Jets, not the Calgary Flames. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. If you don't mind, that'd be great. A lot of people talking each other. Mr. King Da is in the house. Welcome back, King Da. Thanks to show up, pop up. Luciano is pronounced King Da Ka. There we go. Okay, let's talk about this. You know, who's the tallest roller coaster in the world? Not really. I've never been on this area. How much we get on the trip? On your opinion, how much will the cap go of your opinion next season?
How much will the cap go up? So next year I believe it's only going up like 1 point something million, but it always depends on revenue. But I think there's definite signs that people are definitely thinking that it's going to go up a lot more after next season. I've heard anything from it could go up by 2 to 3 million, starting in like 2025. Um, we'll see. It all depends. I hope you guys all enjoy watching those betting ads because that's probably the main reason why the revenue is where it is. But all the billboard ads and all the betting ads that's helping revenue. The Canadian dollar is definitely not helping with that for sure. So we'll see. But yeah, I think
For
we can
the
expect it to go up a
okay,
bit more
the rumor is between 86 to 88 million dollars next year.
next year.
Yeah,
I heard for 2025 up to 85. Yeah.
So again, that would be the kind of the money they're going to get Luciano Gary for upcoming season. For sure, I love Commodore. Calgary. It's not exactly. A lot of people talk about Babcock. Nicolas de Goubi-Bono is in the house. So welcome aboard, Nicolas. Thanks to be with us. I forgot to mention your name a little bit earlier. Lane Home could be in Boston. I missed the first hour. We discussed Hudson yet. We don't talk about Lane Hudson and Rabina because it will be tomorrow night. We talk about him for the Montreal Canadian show tomorrow night. But I have him on the spot, by the way. Not this one. Yes, it was the Hudson Team USA. If you watch my video, I make a video about the goal of the Lane Hudson yesterday. Did you see it or not?
I did. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Very, very good video.
There we go. If you follow baseball, Astros Valdez just no hit the Cleveland Indians. So
cool. That's
uh,
always special.
yeah, the only
Doesn't happen
Valdez I
often.
know he was a hockey player. I teach him hockey, and he played now with NCA. So out of those
Ah,
16 who make the playoff, Willie Snyder. Question: out of those 16 who make the playoff?
out of those, which six teams? Sorry, did I miss? Out of
I don't
which
know.
six teams? Out of those six teams, who makes the playoffs? I don't know which six teams.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Is he
about this
talking?
one. As a fixer, Boston, Luciano. That's a smart retool. So, G. Luciano. Yep, I believe Marchand, last of the joint will affect his production. Passant en mort que juste Bergeron que choc. Jesus, I cannot trade Marchand is now the heart and the soul of the Boston Bruins. That's my feeling about that one over there. I don't disagree, but Bruins need to look at behind them and watch now to get a team or getting you move now. This could be a Babcock strongest return. He was said all right things last week. I agree with you. I think he's felt good about this one. Al Bergeron to come down and see what happens next season. About this one. Hurt only 1 year. Year coach is automatic retour until Marchand value is high. Pull the trigger now. About this one over there. How everything's doing? Mr. King of the Gamer is in the house. Welcome back in the house. Thanks to be with our Kenny Schiller show. Marchand probably has no trade close.
I don't know. Like
Marchand
they
is a
run a tight.
NTC. So
Mm.
that's what Marchand contract is right now for him. You have a M, so you have a and so maybe six team trade. That's the six team no trade. He can go for Marchand, Mr. Marco.
Not going to Winnipeg. I can tell you that.
Yeah, possible about that one for me for next season. I'm going to pick up the connecting for the flight would be like a glove there. Yeah, possible they can do that. Rangers would benefit from Boston getting about this one. Talking about the Boston Bones and talking about the subject we have in the chat. I don't know, have this one there. How do you feel about this situation? The NHL application, and I'm $4.5 million and Terry at $8 million, and then give me your think about. And why did not sign yet Zegras?
Wait, the arbiter back for team, like I that was the biggest gap I think I've ever seen. 8 million versus 4.5. Did the arbitrator come back yet for Troy Terry?
No, not done yet. I did not see it.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think it's
that's
tomorrow.
a really yeah, that's one of the bigger gaps. I could be wrong, but that seems like a really really big difference in numbers. So he's a multiple 30 goal scorer. So I see it being closer to maybe seven than 4.5. But he's got what, like two 30 goals, two or three 30 goal seasons, Troy Terry. So it's hard to find goal scoring in the NHL. In terms of Zegras, I was reading about this, and there's a lot of Anaheim fans that are a little bit nervous about that. He's you know obviously not just their best skilled player, but also kind of from a marketing perspective very important for the NHL. Like, he's all over the place in their commercials and all their marketing. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I would, if I'm an Anaheim fan, I'm definitely getting a bit nervous about that. But I suspect something will get done. He's just too important to that
How much?
franchise. For me, I see him probably being somewhere around a Jack Hughes kind of number, probably
Yeah, yeah,
maybe a
I
little bit
agree.
under. Yeah, yeah.
I agree with you. I would maybe put him a little bit higher. I would give him 8.5. The reason why, because he's really the top one over there compared to Jackie. I have other player around him, like he have like for me, it would be a little bit higher to Zigras and the salary cap increasing, and they have a lot of money. 8.5, $8 million would be my key for that. The problem with Terry, he dropped for 37 goal to 23 goal. And that's what may be the reason behind that over there. Now, when you go an arbitration, it's only usually 1 year deal. So I expect about
Six
six,
point five.
5.5. But I don't expect too much over $6 million for that case for 1 year. I think Terry should sign up you know, he become UFA the next following year after that. So I think he could maybe sign a bridge contract with them. But we're interested in what happening with this arbitration now is going to be on the case about that. Can I ask you this question about Jesse Allen, 1 year contract? Is a part of Montreal Canadian future. I think I have him here.
Yeah, I think he was on your your thumbnail
Yeah,
for this show,
I
Coach.
did a signature about him.
Yeah. Well, King, if you watched Habs barbecue last week, you'll remember that Entertap and I were both lamenting the fact that the only reason that Ylonen doesn't have a roster spot right now with the Montreal Canadiens is because of Bergevin signing Yoel Armia to the deal that we all know and love today, right? So I think one of our topics on Habs Barbecue was who has the most to lose or who has like the most pressure on them going into training camp, and Ylonen was one of those players, right? Just now, obviously, the fact that he signed a two-way deal doesn't, it kind of at least guarantees him, I believe, 275,000 no matter where
200.
he. Yeah, yeah. So that's a decent raise from last year, but irregardless, it's still a huge year for him. But again, like he's just not in a position to succeed, right? Like there's not really a spot there for him. I just you look down the right side there, so you've got well, it really
That's the
depends who they're.
reason why I said they will keep him and send down RHP.
Yeah, but RHP is a left winger, right? So if you assume on the first line, Caulfield is going to play left wing again with Suzuki, and then let's say they have Monahan playing on the right wing,
I think
or
they would,
Slavkovsky.
for what I see, me if Devorek is in the lineup, right? If Devorek is in the lineup, New Hope, Suzuki, Caulfield, Monahan, Doc, and Anderson. The reason Monahan second line because the face-up percentage of the Doc problem. We're helping Monahan on the second line. Third line, Gallagher with Devorek and Islanen. Fourth line would be Evans, Armia, and Hoffman.
But Dvorak isn't going to be there to start the year. He's probably not going to be there until November, right?
He's supposed to be 1 or 2 weeks. But if it's not there, and now you have to add an extra player is going down, right? So you're going to add now a player was Pesada or RHP. So they're going to keep RHP until they were racked. But once they were coming back, that's the reason I said add another part of the team because of the waiver situation. Just for the moment. That's the reason behind that.
It's possible, but to answer King's question, like to me, this is compared to someone like like Ylonen, this is going to be his third full year in North America playing pro hockey. Now, one player coach that we talked about last week that you haven't mentioned at all is Heineman, right? Like we all agree that Heineman is like right there. He's knocking on the door as well, right? So I don't see how he doesn't make the team either. And this is only his he hasn't even played a full season of professional hockey in North America yet. So to me, to answer King's question, this is huge for Ulonen. Like like
Oh,
he
yeah,
hasn't
definitely, of
really.
course.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a debate where you cannot keep Eneman and Allen together. Right? One of them going to be out at some point.
Or like again, like to me, coach, to use like an old Mark Bergevin line, right? Is you know, these young players, they're if they force our hand to make a move, then they'll force our hand, right? So you hope that it's based on merit. You know, like if Ylonen comes in, has a very strong camp, if Heineman comes in, has a strong camp, if Harvey Pinard continues the momentum that he did coming off last year, I just think it's terrible for the team to send those players down. Like, what does it say to all the other young players in the organization? You gotta, I know it's not in Kent Hughes's blood to make a bad deal on paper, like to lose assets to do something. But sometimes you have to take a bit of a hit on a particular transaction in order for the greater good of the development of the organization to happen. So to me, again, we're just talking on hypotheticals here, right? But if Heineman, Ylonen, and Harvey Pinard have a better camp than Hoffman, Armia, and Pitlick, and whoever else you want to throw out there, that we all feel, we all can see the writing on the wall that they're not part of the plan. But if part of the training camp, they are immediately at the moment better hockey players and ready to contribute to the Montreal Canadiens, I'm very concerned about the message that sends to Beck, to Slavkovsky, to players like that are coming up that are watching the development camp. I don't like that. I don't like that message. I
Uh,
prefer that Kent Hughes
go ahead.
spend the draft pick, spend an asset, even if it's going to be costly, and you got to get rid of Mike Hoffman. You try to get rid of somebody else to make it work. It's not an easy job, but you got to do what you got to do.
The only one you have to do is only Hoffman. The rest, nobody was going to move out after that. So
Him,
you
yeah,
send Pitlick out, right? And then the only players you can open up is Hoffman. That's it. They're not going to trade Armia. Armia brings something they need, they don't have
yeah,
inside the team right now as a four line.
yeah, yeah,
So the only player I feel right now going to be out is honestly Hoffman. That will open a
yeah.
spot for maybe
I won't be
Edelman
crazy,
or
coach.
Adenan if they need him, everything like that. A lot of great comments here, left and right. And then the question about Willie Snyder. First of all, welcome in the house. Hey, Gary, welcome in the house. Don't forget, guys, click on the likes. We appreciate you guys, your commitment to be with us every single night. We'll be back, guys, tomorrow night, 9 o'clock for the Ab Barbecue Show. Tomorrow night with NR Tap. I don't know. Marco, are you coming tomorrow night?
Be a game time decision tomorrow. We'll see. I'll let you know early in the day tomorrow.
All right. So the sixth team on the on right there, Mister, he was asked you which team going to make the playoff.
Out of these 6 teams,
Yeah, I will say to you only the Rangers right now.
yeah, only one, I think.
But
Only one.
but
Maybe Calgary, depending what they do
I
here.
will go
But
with Pittsburgh
Calgary's
after
a good
that.
question.
But really interesting. Great, Willie, to ask her that. We pick it up everything what we got in the chat very quickly. A lot of conversation between everybody, Marchand, everything like that. Can you talk about the application and how it works? King, if you don't mind, to come back tomorrow night, I would love to talk about application tomorrow because you have a lot of things to go in inside of the arbitration. So I'll be great. Roger Butch Bouchard is in the house. Welcome back, Butch. Hopefully doing well. And Vermont on that one there. Don't forget, guys, to subscribe to the new channel, the Hockey Nation Live. The Ad Nation is going to be live at this week. Pittsburgh playing 6 final Stanley Cup. Montreal have 1 final cup. Yes, GSM, because you talk about Pittsburgh Penguins, you talk a lot of comments about this. From 1971, 71, 70 until 1990s, where was the Pittsburgh Penguins? So at that time, the Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup 7 times. So I don't want to back to you, but you talk about the Montreal Canadiens versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. So for 25 years, Montreal dominate, and Pittsburgh was no found to found them. And then after that, Pittsburgh for the last 20 years, 25 years, they pick it up because they have got a great draft pick with the Crosby and Malkin. It's a will. Remember, guys, it's the will. That's NHL. That's any sport. You cannot be performing
And
all
it's
the
luck.
time. And when you
And
try,
it's luck.
there are some players that are helping to stay in the top for many years.
And it's luck too, right, coach? Like if, like look at Montreal, right? Like the one year that they got to pick first overall, and it was the draft class that they got versus a year where there was a Crosby or there was a Bedard available, right? So they had Mario Lemieux, then whoops, all of a sudden when the franchise is about to start going down again, whoop, now you get Sidney Crosby. So yeah, of course they're going to be successful over that period of time.
Yeah, I'm sorry about this one. There have a couple of people. René Morin is in the house. Welcome back, René. Altman is still on the team. Why? Because they cannot. They have to wait until they figure out for him maybe at the beginning of the season what he's going to do with him. Maybe a buy, not maybe not a buyout, more like a trade or possible send him back in Laval. It's again, like you said earlier, Marco. If ever Allen Henneman and Anno Duplar does not have a great camp, you keep Hoffman.
Yeah.
That would be the door for them for sure. So it's a little bit a shaker right now for sure. Everyone, that's a good comment. Do you still feel like Gallagher is taking away valuable time for plus? He gives the curse already. I don't think so, King. I think Gallagher is become a third line in NHL. He's only 31 years old. He can score 15, 20 goals. I think it will be fine. I think he brings some kind of the energy nobody have inside the team. He's the only one prior with Drouin and many others don't go in front of net. So I think that right now, if you play 13 minutes, 14 minutes per game, sometimes 15, this is the right time for him to OI as the third line. Don't worry about the salary cap with him. If you can bring that, you need a player like Gallagher and you time at that moment, King, about him. Farrell will maybe take a spot in training camp. Hanneman will contend for the spot. You should retain 50% to get a girlfriend, a third team to make a third team trade. 4 years contract at $3 million on salary cap for nothing. I'll completely disagree with you, GMS, for Gallagher. I will have to give up Carey Baker to lose Gallagher contract. Gallagher, guy, is not a player can be traded in NHL right now. Nobody won a contract. They have no money on the salary cap. Now, they have 23 teams right now are struggling with the salary cap. And they don't want a player like Gallagher because he carry on. It's at least Montreal keep the money, and I would be very negative to get at that moment 4 years retaining 50%. I don't think so. There'll be way over there. Let's call it Vincent. We have let people talk in the chat about this one. I think they are one of them, GSM for Pittsburgh to be at the top. Application format, position, nothing different about this one. Allen is a better Pitlick, Hanneman is a better Armia. You think Armin is worried about the future? A lot of money. I don't think so. He's worried about his future. About that, we're going to go really quickly, Mr. We're going to finish late, but I'm trying to get everything set up here, Mr. Question for you for the pool, Mr. Marco. Which player below scored the most goal with the AB next season? RHP, Brendan Gallagher, Alex Newhook, Sean Monahan, or Juraj Slavkovsky? What would be your answer about this one?
Well, I'm one of the 46% that answered
Alex
Newhook. Yeah.
That's awesome. Great point. Joel Degg is in the house. Welcome back, Joel, the winner of the quiz. Mr. Marco will be ready for that one very soon. Have another one. This one, guys, I never do this. And I learned this. I picked it up somewhere on the Twitter account yesterday. And I add my own question. So this is really interesting. You have to take your time, Marco, a little bit about that one. Which AB team win if you have Richer, Turgeon, Naslund, George, Desjardins, et Price, your starter? Gagné, Koivu, Ritchie, Schneider, Weber, et Roy. Schott, Danfoss, Ryder, Markov, Brisebois, et Dryden. Et finally, Kovalev, Suzuki, Caulfield, Subban, Bouillon, et Plante.
Wow. Wow.
I go with 4. I think I should go with 2, but I said I will start with 4 right now, and maybe I can add 2. Tomorrow I can change it only for 2. But look, the goaltender is set it there. I put one great defenseman, one an average. At least you have an average player for each line of them. I would say example, first line is George. Second line, I've dropped a little bit Schneider. Third line, maybe Brisebois. Fourth line, I put Bouillon. But when I put Bouillon, I add more players, Kovalev, Suzuki, Caulfield. Then you have Schott, Danfoss, Ryder.
Do you mean Josh? Do you mean Josh Georges? Is that who you mean
Yes.
for the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. Josh Georges. Okay. Wow, that is a very that's a tough one. Holy jeez. I would probably go with. I think I always go with the team that has a Roy on it. To be honest, and Mark Recchi is an underrated. He didn't have the best numbers with Montreal, but he used to be a 100-point player, right?
Yeah.
So, assuming that these are all players in their prime, I think Koivu is probably the least good center in all, like the least productive center. Donfuss wasn't a center his whole career either, to be honest. But I think I would go number two.
Wow, there's a lot of great Mr. Ang Bard 91 in the house. Welcome back. 4 4 4 2 4 for Willie. I think people didn't participate. Like 4 is maybe the most number right now. Can we submit as a PDF? And now you try this on PlayStation. Let us know the result of that one. Um, about this one over there. So a lot of people, not for me, for Gary, about this one over there. It's a great question. I think I'm going to get a lot of comments about that selection for tomorrow.
That's a fun one.
On
That's
that
a
one, I
fun
think it
one.
was solid. Good to see that. So I just want to wishing everybody. Check my poll every single day, guys. We do a poll, a question. Most of the time are out at 10 o'clock Eastern time. This is what we got, guys, for that one over there. Do I have something else for you, Mister? Don't forget, guys, we have every day. Tonight we talk about NHL news update. Marco, we did very good about this one. The app Daily News. I put this one. I don't know. Did you watch the video, Marco?
I missed this one. Sorry, coach.
All right, sound good. Check about this tomorrow night. We can talk about this if you are in. And then, guys, tomorrow night it's about the Montreal Canadiens, my top 10 prospect. But I want conversation with you because some of them asking me 2 other players, and I want to talk about each one of them tomorrow. So be ready for that, Mr. Laptop. And don't forget, guys, our Ab Nation YouTube channel are going to be live for each one of you tomorrow, this week. We are almost at the end of the show. And after Schneider, Weber, back in the group. And then Marco, Ben Sentimental, like the person said. Willie Snyder said X for Twitter, maybe. And after number 2, Léon Renault, number 4. Matthew Schneider, right, KLS. Where is Ivan Cournoyer? Maybe it'll be the next one, my next question. Back on the Frenchy quiz, guys, we have 3 leaders right now. We have Andy Koivula, we have RJ Calabro, and Mr. Natap with the win last time with Joel Deg and Luciano are right now on the top of the leader on that one over there. So, Mr. Marco, tonight you are going to be live for the question. This is the first day of August, Frenchy quiz. We're going to do that tonight. About this one, we'll try to pick it up, everything like that. A lot of people in the chat. Thanks so much. Don't forget, guys, to click on the likes. Any questions, Mr. Marco, before we start?
Is this one easy, Coach? Is it an easy one or a hard one?
Well, pretty a medium. I will give you a medium. It's not going to be too hard tonight. So,
all right.
We'll be interested how you're going to perform.
Ready?
Question number 1 for everybody. Who has the most fight on the road last season? On the road only, not overall. Jekai, Delaurier, Janat, Kat Jovic, and Mathieu Olivier. 5 guys fight a lot last season, but who has the most fight on the road last year? So, would be interesting. Would be to get about this one. Then, okay, Mayo are the closest to making the team. Yep, sorry, King. We talk about this tomorrow night. Hopefully, going back tomorrow. So it was underrated. GSM and Matthew. You up sorry, Amadoza Randy. It's always easy about that one. Okay, but they got there. A lot of success. I'll just go with C with Tanner Janat. First answer of the quiz so far. We'll see. We'll get that. Okay, let's go with B about that one over there. We have Nicola with B. We have Willie Snyder with A. Here we go. We have that one. Then we have Luc Lafortune with C. There we go. We have GSM with B. We have other people. Gary Corner with C. Joseph Lamb with A. Joseph C until the N. Thanks so much, Joseph, to be part. N. Rabinard B. Claude Richard B. Andy Claude Richard is in the house tonight. So in the time I pick it up everything, Mr. Marco, what is your answer?
I remember Olivier fighting a lot against, I think, yeah, I first also I think you tried to give me a hint with the color of your graphic, like the red. For me, fighting is red and angry. So Olivier shows up in the reddest part of your graphic. So is that a hint? You're trying to give me a hint that it's Olivier.
E for Marco. Randy Walkman go with A. And after with B. Luciano Graziano with C. King with A. Andy with E. Some of you have a good answer tonight. And the answer, the first question, guys. B. Nicolas Delaurier have 7 and 9 fight, I believe, on the road. Is a number one on that one. Oh, we have Nicolas, KLS, GSM, Claude Richard, and Rabinoff, and NR are the winner of the first question of the night, Mr. Marco, on that one there.
I guess the Flyers weren't doing anything but fighting last year on the road, I guess.
Yeah, so right about that one over there. Question number 2. Oh, this one is friend, Mr. What are you talking about? Which is a fact. Which arena had this clock, Mr. Marco? One day, is it Montreal, Ottawa, Chicago, Boston, or Toronto? Which clock was when you go to watching the Bruins and Montreal Canadiens, the Senator, the Blackhawks, or the Maple Leaf? We'll see what's going to happen here, Mr. Marco. 1 minute to go. Consistency for Randy Walkman. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like before you leave the building. We are jammed with no answer so far on my hand. So
Yeah, I don't see any answers. That's weird. I think you stumped the entire chat there, Coach. There you go. One
there we
answer.
go. We have C with GSM. Claude Richard with B. Both of them have a good answer. One of them going to take the lead, possible. Luc Lafortune with C. Nicolas go with B. And Rabinab will go with D. And Rabinab is another winner after one over there. They're saying Gary Cornwell go with A. And after go with E. Randy Walkman go with A. Because I'm a loser, Randy Walkman said. Andy go with C. Joseph go with D. B for King of a Gamer. Willie Snyder go with D. Hopefully doing well and Arada. We missed Steve G, by the way. I don't know if he's on vacation. Steve G. Then Asham go with E. During that time, Mr. We get more answer. We're going to ask you this question, Mr. Marco.
This is just a pure guess.
Yeah.
I'm going to rule out Montreal because I don't see anything in French, right? So I'm
Go with
gonna say
Montreal for Marco
no,
about
no,
that one
no,
over
no,
there.
no, 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 no. No, I'm saying it's not Montreal because I don't see any French. So I'm gonna say Toronto.
Toronto for Marco Larabé. Chicago visit Detroit, Luc Lafortune. About that one over there. KLS, he said go with B. And the answer that one over there. But Mr. Marco is right or wrong? He was right, Marco, with that one over there. Congratulations, Marco, about this. Maybe the T at the top could helping. I don't know. I thought it was the tie. Who knows about that one there? But it was the building. And up top, Mr. Up top, take the lead. Marco is the only one with 2 and 2. And we have Dan Asham and Marco Larabi are now joined the party with a 1 good answer and 2. Unfortunately for Luc Laverson and Randy, 2 of them I just mentioned to you are 0-2 after 2 for them. Randy Coach is a make a mistake. I make a mistake. Here we go. Question the number 3. Can Enarta go a perfect game tonight? If he does, nobody can win tonight. Enarta will go take the lead anyway of everything if he win tonight. Number 3 question. From this list below, which one did not win the Norris Trophy with 2 different teams? Chris Chelios, Doug Harvey, Paul Coffey, Eric Carlson, and Pierre Pilat. Here we go, Mr. Marco. Can you tie in our tap? Rob it and the coach. Don't forget, we are back tomorrow night, guys, 9 o'clock Eastern Time for the Ab Barbecue Show. We'll talk about exclusively about the Montreal Canadian. Nicolas, go with Eric Carlson. Thanks so much. RJ, go with Chris Chelios. Nicolas, go with Carlson. Andy, go with Paul Coffey. Willie Snyder, go with D. Eric Carlson. KLS, go with C. Gary Cournoyer, go with E. Claude Richard, go with B. King of Gamer, go with A. Jose Lam, go with C. Last question of the night. Can we get other people participate? And we'll be interested. We have during the time, Mr. Marco, you can give us a bit more how you can select your answer.
Yeah, so I'm not like, I think it's probably between B and C, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember Paul Coffey winning a Norris Trophy with the Penguins. So I think I'll go with C, Paul Coffey, but it could be B.
B with who?
I'm gonna go with C, Coffey.
With Coffey?
Yeah.
And after go with B. If B is a good answer, guy, he win. Luc Lafortune go with A. So, and Rabinov go with E. Try to pick up everybody here to be sure I'm right about that one over there. Really interesting answer, guys, about that one over there. I like this. And after is B, everything win. About this, I want to be sure other people have already one good answer or answer to us. I'm talking about KLS, GMS, Claude Richard, and Rabinov, and our tap. Here we go. Mr. Marco, first of all, Paul Coffey won the trophy twice. One with Edmonton, one with the Pittsburgh Penguins. GMS confirmed with 1989. Paul Coffey won it. Doug Harvey winning with the Boston, with the Rangers and the Montreal Canadiens. Chelios did it, guys, with the Chicago and the Montreal Canadiens. Between Carlson and Pierre Pilat. The answer, guy, is Pierre Pilat. He never won the trophy twice with other team. He's only did it with the Chicago Blackhawks. Carlson did it with San Jose and the Ottawa Senators. So the answer that one, guys, is Pierre Pilat. On that one, which one did not win the Norris Trophy with a two different team? This is the answer. Mr. N. Rabinov is the winner of the contest tonight with two good answers. And Mr. N. Artap is the winner of the contest, Mr. Marco. Tonight, congratulations, both of you guys are the winner tonight. And that will Luc Lafortune go with E at the end. We're going to give it to you, Luc, if to at least you can feel better with no 0-3, but 1 and 3 tonight. What about Randy Walkman? Try to pick it up in our and Rabinov here. From my list, Mr. Marco, and Rabinov is the first time he won the contest this year.
Wow, good stuff.
So,
yeah, he's
congratulations, N. Rabinov. At least I tried to pick up everything here, but I don't see N. Rabinov a lot. Marco are 2 and so far, and that contest this year. And that's what we got, guys, on the special edition of the NHL News Update. I'm going to bring back you here, finishing the show. Congratulations, both of you. Here we go. And Rabinov and off top. And we'll now go with E after that. Anything else, Mr. Marco, before we leave the building tonight?
I don't think so, Coach. We did a nice 360 all across the NHL. It was really fun to be able to answer. Sometimes when it's all three of us, we get stuck in conversation. So it was really fun to be able to just really focus in on people's questions, and we hope that we were able to answer a lot of your questions. A lot of fun just talking about hockey, man. Again, Coach, we're talking about it. We're just starting the new season here, August, the HUNTE tournament. Slowly but surely, we're going to get back into the hockey fever here. So fun. I love everybody on this channel. It's so fun talking hockey with everyone. So thanks for joining us tonight. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely right. Well said, Mr. Marco. We appreciate kind of your time. We want to mention, guys, the August start today, August 1st. So we are back normal. So what happening? We are create more show for upcoming weeks. We'll be back tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time for the Ab Barbecue Show. But the Ab Barbecue Show will be all summer for the August, between Sunday night and the Wednesday night. And then we're going to add more show the Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday now for the rest of the summer of August. Don't forget the new website called Ab Nation. Going to be great. And then the new channel too about that. Marco, it was a pleasure having you aboard tonight. We wish you an amazing, great rest of your evening. Until then, my friend, we want to wish everybody. You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. We apologize, Marco, to keep you all the way for over 2 hours, but I think we're trying so much for the many great questions for the people in the chat. So we want to take thanks to all the moderators who are part of the show tonight, Jose and Aftap, and of course, Luciano. And we wish, of course, everybody thanks to join us for all the people in the chat. Great conversation. A lot of people talk about fun things. And of course, we want to say, everybody, be well, be ill. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the second half of what, Marco?
2023.
He did it again. An amazing, great night, Marco. Look forward to see you next time, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Coach.
Good night. Booyah!